I'm sure you have seen the YouTube video True Facts About the Owl. You haven't?
No, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Of course you have. Okay, if you haven't, go look up True Facts About the Owl. However,
is that like a Zay Frank thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. True Facts About the Owl. Anyway, I learned a fascinating fact yesterday at my writing club, which had nothing to do with writing and everything to do with owls. And that is this. Owls turn their heads the way that they do because they cannot move their eyes. They cannot move their eyes because their eyes are tubes that are fixed into place. Also, they're farsighted, so that's why they have little whisker feathers on their faces to help them figure out what's up close to them. Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Welcome to Overthinking Games. This is, in fact, a video game about what... A video game? A podcast about what video... a podcast about what video games can teach us, and not an environmental science podcast, but you could never know. This week, I am joined again by my co-hosts, Seth.
Hi, I'm a video game about what podcasts can teach you.
And Dempsey.
I am also a podcast about what video games can teach you.
Awesome. And I'm Katie, I forgot to say. We are all in the education realm or education adjacent, and we like to talk about what video games can teach us. This week, we are going to be talking about procedurally generated games versus games with a more curated design. Before we get into that, however, we have to talk about what we've been playing. So, Seth, you want to start us off?
I would love to, but Katie, where can everybody find us on our socials?
Oh, what a great prompt. Thank you, Seth. We are... you can find
why
us
are you showing us pictures of owls?
Spotify. Seriously. Spotify, podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. And then we're also on TikTok, RIP, ? And we're on Blue Sky and Instagram and YouTube. So come check us out. And if you have thoughts about the topic or topics that you think we should cover, then send us an email. The email is in the show notes. Okay, now what have you been playing, Seth?
I'm glad you asked, Katie. I feel very formulaic today. Not anything.
Do you feel procedurally generated?
I do feel procedurally generated today.
Did we say that's the topic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was looking at pictures of owls.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm glad we're all mindful and present here.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Some RuneScape as usual. I actually was it last week that I was like I finished all quests, which I was pretty excited about. And then I managed to do some bosses that I hadn't been able to do before. I just kind of like skilled up. That was exciting. In other news, I started playing Marvel Rivals. We had the Gaming Cafe on last week, and he was like, "Hey, I've been playing Marvel Rivals. It's pretty good. You should give it a shot." And I went, "Okay." And yeah, it's good. It feels like Overwatch, but Marvel. And that pretty much sums it up. Fortunately, like the hero shooter genre is, I think, fairly fun, just kind of innately. So I don't mind. But I think like quite literally besides that, I signed up for the Night Rain beta or like network test.
What's that?
For the new Elden Ring game. They do a network test, which is essentially like a timed demo. So there's like on a specific day you can play between these specific hours. And all my friends signed up for the network test, so hopefully we can play together.
But you can't talk about it. We know that. No, just because your friends don't want spoilers.
Oh no, I think I don't know if I can
call back to another episode.
That's a crazy callback. Now that Dempsey mentioned it, I was like, I don't know what the heck Katie's talking about. But now that Dempsey mentions it's a callback, I was like,
listen when you talk, Seth.
Yeah, but that's like a callback to like a year and a half ago. Like.
Sorry, I have a good memory. My poor husband, right? No,
sorry. Anyway, I don't think. I think that's about it.
Too much time around high schoolers.
Okay, I will go now. I have feelings about the Pokemon card game.
They've evolved.
So this is my. So my feelings. No, well, they kind of have. So here's the thing about the Pokemon card game. It kind of sucks because all of the best metas are exactly the same. So like for if you have a fire deck, there are certain fire cards that are just the best cards to use. And then if you have like a psychic deck, like it might like you pick like what flavor of deck you want or what the power is or whatever you want to use. But then once you use that, there's only like 2 or 3 good cards that you duplicate and then optimize to use them. So like you have all these cool, interesting monsters and abilities, but it doesn't really matter because if you want to win any versus battles, you have to go with like just the strongest meta. And like that's so lame because you know what everyone's doing. And then you also know like you will get cool, fun cards and just know that you're never actually going to use them. And
This is
so
my problem
think,
with ranked ladders. Like, and this is why I'm eventually going to fall off of Marvel Rivals. Is like, you know, people want to like rank up, and the fact that you have a ranking that is a number that goes up, it makes people do unfun things.
Yeah. And so I've been flirting with the idea of making like a secondary deck that is filled with like characters that I like but aren't as powerful. But I know that I'm just going to lose every game, and so that doesn't feel very fun either. And then because it rewards you for winning with being able to draw more cards, you also build your deck more slowly that way. And so like it's so much more tedious to do anything that's not on meta. Like I don't know. You would have to really love the mechanics for the mechanics' sakes, but I want to collect all the cards. And so to collect all the cards, you win as many matches as you can to get to level up because you get extra. Anyways, I don't know. I think that has kind of burned me out on playing Pokemon. That it's like, okay, I know it's going to be the fire is going to be a Charizard and that bird that gives you extra energy. It's going to be Mewtwo and Mew, and it's like you just know what everybody's playing already. So I don't know, it's kind of lame.
That's interesting though, because actually Warzone's exactly the same. Like the meta is whatever, usually like submachine gun sniper rifle combo or something, and everybody's running the same guns. And when you take out teams, all the ground leads all the same fucking gun with different skins, and everybody does it because when it comes down to it, if you play against somebody using those guns, you're not going to win unless you have those guns because of the way that game is balanced. And I wonder if this could be a whole topic all on its own, but I wonder if like the reason why things get balanced that way is because it's just a lot easier and simpler to do it that way versus actually balancing things in a way where you could use variety and still be successful.
Well, yeah, and I think that like people are going to optimize the fun out of anything.
That's true.
Min-max it to death.
Yeah, and so like people, no matter how you build a game, people are going to like you have the large community of like millions of players, and like the collective consciousness is going to sift through every possible option. And then natural selection is going to like the ones that, I just think because that's how I learned the meta. Like I was like, okay, this is what other people are doing. Let me copy that. And then I started winning more when I copied the people that beat me. So like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like water running down, like water erosion, like, right? It's the water finds the path of least resistance and then more water follows it.
Yeah. 100%.
Until that's the only path you can take.
Yeah.
Reasonably.
So,
yeah.
So I still open my 2 packs a day. I feel like a smoker, but I am playing a lot less Pokemon the card game, the app, which kind of makes me sad because it is fun, even though it's on the phone and it's not as satisfying to have the tactileness of cards. It's so much more convenient, and because you're doing. Yeah, and cheaper. It's so much more convenient and cheaper. And because you're doing something with them, battling them, it does feel fun. Like it feels like you're taking time and looking at the artwork and reading you're looking at the cards and you're reading the little character things and whatever. I just wish that there was like more things that encouraged you to use some of the less powerful cards. And then I figured out that you can do cross play. Actually, I did not figure out. A friend of mine figured out that you can do cross play with Helldivers 2. So I have a PS5 version of it, and they have it on Steam. And so we were able to play together, which was very nice. A very good friend of mine. And that's been good. I've been having a lot of phone calls recently for work and for personal life, and I've been putting in tons of hours of Power Wash Simulator because that has become my go-to phone conversation game if I feel like I need to do something with my hands or whatever. I've been playing a lot of Power Wash Simulator. And then I'm maybe like 2-3 hours in to Final Fantasy VII. The OG, not the remake. People are telling. I think the consensus online is that you should play the original, and so I'm not very far in. I've tried to start it before and really fell off, and I think I'm past the hump of learning the combat system because the combat system is kind of annoying. It's a mixture of turn-based and real time. So like, it's just a button you press. And then it's like a Pokemon whatever menu that comes up. But those attacks are on a timer, and you can hit them as soon as your timer's up. And so you have to be paying attention and action and like active, but there's no like, you're not like, there's no like positioning. You can't move your character or anything. So it's like very turn-based, but like on a timer that you have to kind of babysit. And so that is not my favorite combat system. It feels really stressful because some of the moves take a little bit of like menu option inputting. And normally in a turn-based game, the point is that you can take your time and like optimize your decisions like in the little menu section. So here it's like you can't reach that menu section until the timer goes off. So you can't like ready your move. And then and so like you have to be ready for when the timer goes off to like quickly as fast as you can flip through the menu. Which is, I don't know. And maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I don't know how to play it, but it feels like the most stressful turn-based game possible. Because I don't mind, like I love turn-based strategy games. But I don't normally like this kind where there's like, it's really all combat and no positioning. There's like different types of things and there's some inventory management, but you just kind of stand there and shoot fire at each other or whatever. Almost like a Pokemon battle, like the Pokemon video game battle, more than anything like Fire Emblem.
Do you feel like Baldur's Gate has ruined you for turn-based games?
No, Fire Emblem did way before. Okay. Like, even if I just compared this to Fire Emblem, I would have been like, this is lame. Although I know, like, this is a more typical JRPG, so, like, I have to accept the fact that this is the genre.
Yeah.
I like the story way more than I like the gameplay. Like, it's so I'm very soon, but it's so fun and campy and wholesome and like creative, and it feels like a fairy tale. It feels like a weird mixture of like, it feels a little bit like Guillermo del Toro-y. I don't know. I just like the writing currently. Like that is what is the engine that is keeping me playing this game. And if that gets bad, I think I will quit. Because there is nothing else satisfying about this game other than, so have either of you played Final Fantasy VII?
Mm-mm.
So you start out as eco-terrorists. So,
I think I did hear about this, actually. I think I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah. So you're eco-terrorists and you're bombing like the equivalent of this oil company, which is a great hook. That is such a good hook. And then you have like, you're like a really like typical, like really good at combat, kind of stone hard with like a tragic backstory, mercenary, main character. And like, I don't know. And like the characters are all really like prototypes, archetypical role-playing game characters. I don't know. There's something like genuinely fun about it. And like the way it keeps track of little details and rewards you for paying attention, and like the characters pick up on like things that are logistical needs for them that turn into narrative things is something I really enjoy. And characters will fuck up constantly. Like, they're not good at being eco-terrorists, but not in like the whole plan fails. It's in like everyone's a little bit incompetent at what their job is supposed to be. And like it makes for like really interesting twists and turns and like how this plan is going down, because like they're in way over their head. Like they're in like way over their head, but not just in like a convenient way or like, oh, this didn't work or this was changed or whatever. There's like consequences and fall off consequences and little details that will come back around. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. I love it so far. So anyways, that's my feelings about a game that a large part of the gaming community considers the best video game ever made, is that it's pretty good. So
it's good.
Anyways, Katie, what have you been playing?
Let's see. Honestly, I am stuck between my two loves, Baldur's Gate 3 and The Long Dark. I've started watching videos on The Long Dark to learn to be a better Long Dark player, because I'd like to survive in the winter more than I expire in the winter. And I have learned so much. I've been watching this one guy, Zach something. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. And he's got these like tutorials for how to survive on different levels. So I play on Voyager, which is the second level, the second easiest level. And the longest I've ever made it is 32 days. And I haven't come even remotely close on any of my other runs. I don't know what that magic was, but I haven't recreated it. And so I'm watching him play and he's like, oh yeah, you take a torch from the fire, and then the next time you need to light a fire, you use the torch and it saves your matches, and you can just aim a rock at a wolf and it makes it go away. And I'm like, the fuck? Are you kidding me? How many times have I been mauled by wolves? I could have aimed a rock at them and they would have fled. What? So there's all this stuff that I didn't know, and I'm like having like, galaxy brain moment, learning all of this stuff. And I'm like, I am going to become an excellent survivor in the winter. And I was listening to it on my way to work today, and I was like, oh my God, all I want to do is go home, play The Long Dark. That's all I want to do. I'm like, on my lunch break, I'm watching this fucking 5-hour video. Somebody else playing what is categorically not the most interesting game of all time. Even to play, and I'm like watching him play this boring game and I'm jealous. So yeah, it's eating up a lot of my brain space right now. But I also, on Sunday, I finished Limbo with my friend Roseanne, who I played Little Nightmares with her before. So I went over to her house and we finished Limbo. And we got to the end of it and she's like, that's it? And I was like, yeah. It's a simple little game. And she's like, huh. I was like, yeah. But then we started our next game. It's called Agent A, and it's very much 100% my jam, and now I know it's 100% her jam. It's a point and click mystery game. You look around a room, you click on things, you find clues, you figure out like, oh, this key goes in this door. We got to use the magnet on the fish tank in order to get the key out of this fishbowl, and there's sharks and all these things. And then the art style is like very 1990s, like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, and you're trying to find this like super spy lady. It's super fun. So, but I can't play that until we hang out again because we're playing it together. But it was really fun to find a game that she liked, because she wasn't a huge fan of, we talked about this in the New Gamers episode. It was really challenging for her to use the sticks, even just a single stick and an interact button. When it came to the point where there was like pressure and puzzles and trying to time things, it was like just not fun for her. So I think this is a really good stepping stone, actually, to play something that's a little more simple and like point to click. And the writing is super cute and corny, so I'm looking forward to that. But that's pretty much that's pretty much it. I'm still in the Underdark in Baldur's Gate, and I'm on a new run of the Long Dark. I got mauled by a moose in my last run and had to start over. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, on that note, our topic this week is procedural generation versus curated design. So, for those of you not in the know, procedural generation is, and you guys can correct me or elucidate it further if you have better explanation, but procedural design is, or generation is basically, the game designers make assets, and then they create which assets are like art pieces, like whatever pieces they're going to have in the world. That's going to show up that the player is going to see. And then they do like a math thing, an algorithm where I don't really know how that part works, but a math thing. And it means that like every time you go into a new level or new world or something like that, the world that you encounter is different, but it's like dictated by this mathematical algorithm that they've put in place. So you see this a lot in games like roguelikes, like Hades, Slay the Spire. You see it in Cult of the Lamb. I mean, so many that are those kind of really high replayability games. But I guess my idea with this topic is I think it's interesting to think about sort of the pros and the cons of both procedural generation and a curated design. And what you guys think about it and that sort of thing. So what are your guys' experience with procedural design games?
To say, you know, coming from like a heavy roguelike background, like that's one of the fundamental like ideas of the genre, right? Like the original Rogue even I think was probably like a gaming pioneer in that idea that there's this like randomized dungeon that you like as you delve into it, it changes each time you go down. And that's part of the enjoyment is sort of you can't memorize the game. You have to like figure it out on the fly. And like one of the games that really comes to mind for me is like The Binding of Isaac plays a lot like really heavily into that like procedurally generated level design. Or even like, you know, Minecraft's got this whole like procedurally generated world. It's the main thing for me is I think you have to strike a very careful balance between like, is this something that you really want in your game? And it like sort of plays towards the game and its strengths, or are you doing it because like it's easier, quote unquote, than like curating content?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. What about you, Dempsey?
I have played games with procedural generation like Hades, Minecraft, I guess. God of War has a roguelite mode. I don't think I find a lot of my enjoyment in those games due to the randomization and the having to know, like, understand things, because that's normally not what I'm looking for in my video game experience. Like, I think there's something really satisfying. It's like I played Elden Ring. And there's something really satisfying about knowing that if you beat a boss once, you have beaten that boss and you can move on with the story. And even if it's luck, you only have to get lucky once. And for me, there's something really appealing about that. Whereas like in roguelikes, it's the opposite. Like even like Cult of the Lamb, I don't think Cult of the Lamb was very difficult, but you would see the same, maybe not the same bosses, but the same like things again over and over again. And so
you see like the same rooms.
The same rooms and the same like bigger enemies and things like that. Like, and so I think, I don't know, like I think it's not a turnoff for me. But there's not many games that have that end up really, really sticking with me. I think what I want is the ability to build to a satisfying catharsis in a way that like the narrative kind of reflects and I think like there's been games that have taken more narrative and more curated elements into roguelites, but I just don't fall in love with them. Like even Hades, I beat Hades once and I was like, that's it. I did it once. I'm good. Which is not how you're supposed to play that game. And then Returnal.
You only got to like the halfway point there.
It's not even the halfway point. You've witnessed like a tenth of the story.
And then
the story is really good.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like Returnal was another game with a very interesting story and premise, and I don't know. I fall off roguelites. There's like the sense of being afraid of being stuck there forever as well. Like I could be bad enough to never move forward in a roguelike, but I know that if I throw myself enough time, so let's take like Another Crab's Treasure, which had some very difficult bosses, or just games that are difficult. But if I throw myself at them enough times, like there's something so meditative about knowing that I'm working towards something, where in roguelites I don't feel that same progression, and so I don't stick with them as long as they're supposed to. Sometimes I guess like a gameplay loop that would have been satisfying for me to put a lot of time into is like Balatro could be, or like, any deck builder, I guess, could be considered a roguelike.
Balatro is procedurally generated.
Yeah. And so
I think
there's something about that feels fun, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like fully consider I think Balatro to some extent is about as close you can. Is Balatro procedurally generated? Like the idea that there's because like what is being procedurally generated, right? Like I guess the order
the cards that you get,
and the cards that you have,
the order of the cards, and the cards you get
that you have to buy.
But that's not like there's nothing that's being actually like generated procedurally, as much as it's just like, oh, we have a pool of cards that we're pulling randomly from to randomize the experience.
And also
versus like Minecraft, where it's like the world. Sorry, I think, okay, 1 second as well. Okay, I think I'm like super lagging behind you guys.
Oh, God.
Can you guys hear
Seth,
me?
you're cutting up really bad. I can't hear you.
Do you know that you're cutting up really bad? Put a thumb up if you know.
Okay.
No.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
God damn it, I'm going to have to edit that. We'll see if I edit that.
Okay, hold on. How about let's add a little bit more editing into this. Do you guys mind if I'll just leave the recordings going? I could just close Discord, reset my Wi-Fi, and then we could just cut out this whole middle section. Or we could just pause.
Me and Katie will talk. Well, I'm not going to edit it. Me and Katie will talk. Come on, Katie, let's have a conversation. Seth, do your thing. We'll keep it going.
Wow.
Bye.
Even though he's the one that knows all the things about procedurally generated. Okay, this is fine.
No, I guess I'm
going to make my case for why Balatro. Okay. Yeah. Keep your recording going. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about why Balatro is a roguelike. And Seth's not hearing this. Of course it's a roguelike. Seth's point was that it's not really a roguelike.
No, he said it's not procedurally generated.
That's what a roguelite is, though. Procedurally generated.
No. A roguelike is a game where you try to. Here. I know. A roguelike is where you try to get through the level or beat the game or whatever, and when you die, it sets you back to the beginning, and over time, you level up. And you get
but if every level's the same, though, that's not a roguelite. That game doesn't exist. There's no game where you start at the beginning of the game every time you die, and it's also the exact same thing every time. That's a non-existent. Okay, what game is like that?
Isn't Spelunky one that you can memorize? Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure you can't memorize Spelunky. It's procedurally generated.
Is it?
I think roguelites and procedural generation are like cosmically intertwined.
I would agree.
I think you might be right. Hang
Seth,
on.
are you
Ask
back?
Chat.
Me and
Ask
Katie
Chat-
have gone back like 3 steps in this conversation.
Ask ChatGPT.
Okay. So
Are roguelites always...
Roguelites are always
Procedurally
procedurally generated. That's what makes them a roguelite.
I mean, like, okay.
No, that's not what makes them a roguelite.
There's so
It
much more that
is.
there's so much more that makes them a roguelite. But okay, so here
Plenty of games that aren't roguelikes are procedurally generated.
Well,
Yes.
yeah,
okay, but
but all roguelites are procedurally generated.
no. My question
What?
no, okay, follow. Because the question you have to ask is like, what is being generated? Like, what are we procedurally generating?
I think the challenge.
Levels.
And so in Balatro, the challenge is the boss binds and the order that they come, and then the cards that you get and how you build strategy. So you
Right.
can't
Right, 'cause it's not
memorize the game
curated.
enough
But
to know what to do in the next level.
And I would agree with that. But to me, that's not like a procedural generation. That's just like we have a pool of blinds and we are randomly picking from that pool.
And we use a mathematical equation to randomize
There's no mathematical
generation.
equation. Here's 15 of them. We pick 1 out of 15 and we give it to you. Like,
But it's not... They didn't do that in a curated way, though. They didn't say...
well, yeah,
They didn't go through and handpick your decks.
I mean, they didn't go through and like but they had to design each of the blinds. Like the blind itself is not like a randomly generated blind.
No, but
the
all the
blind
cards
is the
that you
curated
get
content.
are.
Like, yeah, but the
Yeah, but
cards
if you wanna-
themselves
but-
are not random. Like,
But Hades has
the-
only a certain number of rooms. Like you will get the same room over and over again in Hades, not in the same order, but you will get the same geography. You just don't know which room is coming next.
I guess
the
I'm
enemies
sort
are
of
not
thinking of it in
guaranteed.
terms of like there's a sort of like tier here on like what you could consider to be like Minecraft is a very like hard procedural generation, right? Like the whole world is like literally generated like on the fly from like random patterns. Whereas like
No. I wouldn't say random because you can put a seed in and get the exact same thing out.
well, yes, but the randomness is determined by the seed. Dempsey's
Yeah, but
revealing he doesn't know how random number generators work, is what I'm understanding.
No. Hold on. Because it's only random for one thing, and that's the generation of the seed. But everything after that is not random. It's only random once.
Okay, but this is an argument about like random versus pseudo random, which is like a computer science argument for a different day.
But because they call it a seed, like that you can copy the seed to get... The only way to play a level of Balatro twice is to copy the seed because it's randomly generated every time. So you can never get the same level twice. So in that way, it is randomly procedurally generated.
I mean,
no,
yeah,
okay.
but I'm making an argument for there being a difference between like randomization and like procedural generation.
I don't
Okay,
think
so I
there
would
is
agree
any
with that because-
randomization.
no,
That's
there's a-
nonsense.
There is a difference because, like, okay, so if you think about the Long Dark, you
Okay.
can always find a magnifying glass either in 3 places inside of the camp office or up in the, like, Vista viewpoint thing in Mystery Lake, okay? It's going to be in one of those places. If you haven't found it, you need to look harder. It's going to be in one of those, like, 4 places. So in that
Okay.
way, it's not it's random which one it's going to be, but it's not procedurally generated because it will always be in one of those places. Is that right? Like, are we on the right page with that?
No. What? Like, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not following here for. Like,
this was such a simple conversation. What I am saying is that just like you are arguing for a Balatro that like in order for this is I'm going to say your argument back to you to see if I understand what you're saying.
okay.
So in order for you to feel like Balatro is procedurally generated, the cards themselves and what they do would have to be randomized, right?
I mean, I think that's a way to
The powers of the cards. But I don't think that's true because the enemy's powers in Hades are not randomly generated.
Right.
So like the cards are like the enemies in Hades.
The procedural level, like if we're talking about like procedural level generation, then like in Hades, I would consider the fact that there is a like procedurally generated like series of rooms in a sort of level design that leads you to like a final boss is different than like. But again, this is where I think there's different levels to this. I would say that
I'm
there's
not
like
letting this go.
That's fine.
Let it go. Let it go, Dempsey.
But I would like I think there's like a soft and a hard version of this where like the soft version of this is like Hades and level design, where it's like, okay, we have like a pool of things that we like string together in a sort of randomized fashion, and we can call that procedurally generated. But then there's literally like something like Minecraft or like Terraria world building, where like it's using some sort of like string or seed and some sort of algorithm to like build the world, and it's not building it off of like little chunks of stuff.
The topic's not roguelites. The topic is procedural generation.
Yeah, the topic is not roguelites. We used it as an example for procedural generation.
That's just my example of procedural generation because that's where I see it the most. But there's actually another game that I'm interested in playing called Shadow of Doubt or Shadows of Doubt. And it is a procedurally generated mystery game where there's like hundreds of NPCs. And when you start a like mystery run, it'll select a random person to commit a random crime, and it'll procedurally generate the details of the crime, which I think is really interesting. I've seen mixed reviews on it that the mystery element is sometimes not as satisfying. Especially after you've played for a while. But I just thought that was really interesting because, like, generally speaking, a mystery game would be a game that is very curated. Every piece of evidence, every thing that you see in the environment has been placed specifically by a creator in order to create this experience and to craft the mystery. So
by a god. Yep.
By a game god.
Yep.
And so I think that is an interesting use of that technology in a really different setting.
What's the theological belief that's like that? This is like the founding fathers. They were deists, right? Like procedural
like
generation.
Intelligent design?
No, so like some people believe. So like with theism, right? You have some people who believe that God built the world and then let it run like a clock.
Oh,
and then you have other people who believe that God like finally curates every detail of existence.
You're arguing that God procedurally generated the world? Is that what you just said?
So God procedurally generated the world.
No, hold on. I'm not taking a stance in this. I'm just saying that the idea of procedural generation is like what Thomas Jefferson believed God was like.
Fix it and forget it like a crock pot?
Kind of, yeah. He makes the rules and then lets it run. Whereas the Quakers
thought that God cared about every detail.
Every detail, yeah.
What kind of underwear they wore.
Yes.
No, that's the
I don't claim to know about Quaker theology. I just know that God's more involved in their lives than he was the deist's life. I'm just making for people to understand, for people who know a lot about history but maybe not about video games. I'm drawing a comparison, you know.
Yeah, all those history people that don't know about video games.
Niche corner of our audience who are historian non-gamers but listen to the show.
I also want to point out the fact that like between the three of us, who do you think lives closest to the Quakers?
You.
Coming from the guy who lives in Pennsylvania and has a Quaker church down the street.
Aren't you a Quaker?
No, I'm not a Quaker.
Anyways, okay, so I'm sorry. Katie just said creator, and then that got me thinking about intelligent design.
Okay, so Seth, you made a comment earlier before we start. Oh, sorry, you're eating.
Seth's eating, which is not good podcast etiquette, but whatever.
Podcast 101, but okay. You made a comment before we started recording about using AI to like create assignments and versus curating assignments. And you seem to have somewhat of a negative view of that, but you seem to have a more positive view of procedural generation in games, considering that is mostly what you play. Would you speak on that?
You hypocrite.
You fool. That's so funny.
What?
You criticize society, yet you participate in it. How quaint.
Curious. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that, because I actually really get it. Like, I feel like using AI, I use AI to help craft assignments all the time, but I never take what the AI gives me like at face value. I always use it as a building block.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have beef with large language models anyway, just for the fact that they just like hallucinate stuff in general. But
right.
Like I think part of my problem with like using AI for assignments is my same thing that I would say for like if a game developer just said, "Hey, we don't feel like curating this content, so therefore like, oh, we're going to randomize it." It's one of those things that I think is going to be really interesting when Elden Ring Night Rain comes out, because it has a little bit more of that like roguelite sort of vibe to it. Whereas to me, like one of the things I respect most about the Soul series is this like very heavily curated world. Where, yeah, do I think it would be cool if like the weapons in Elden Ring had like a Borderlands or like a Diablo style loot system where you could like procedurally generate like parts or whatever? Yeah, that would be cool, but like that's not the design intent that Elden Ring is going for. Mm-hmm. It's going for like very specific curated design in order to like give a narrative in a very specific way. So keeping that in mind, like when I look at my school assignments, like the assignments I give my students are very heavily curated design for a very specific reason. Like what have I been teaching recently? I want to teach my students about literally what did I do today in my classes? Let's say something coming up. I want to teach my students about continental drift. I could have an AI like write an assignment for me about continental drift, but it doesn't understand like where am I in my unit? What are my students' ability levels? Like, is this an appropriate kind of assignment for the students I have? Like, are my students going to be capable of doing this? Do I have the supplies to do this? Like, it doesn't understand context in that way. And so it's a good starting point, much in the same way that like I might find an assignment online and then have to make modifications to it to like give to my students. And I think in a perfect world, if I had like all the time in the world between my lessons, that I could like sit down and like pore over all of the different labs that people have put together on the internet and like design my own specific version of that lab that like meets all my needs 100%. I would love doing that, and I would do it for every assignment. I just don't have the time, energy, or ability to do that, just because that's not how the job works. So curating somebody else's design, or curating at least a computer's design, gets me part of the way. But sometimes I feel like if I take an AI assignment, I'm doing more work to curate this into a usable piece of material than I am if I had just designed something from scratch. That's typically my beef. And then when my coworkers are like, oh, hey, I gave my kids this assignment, and then I go look at it and I'm like, this is trash. And I could tell that you pulled it straight off of Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever it is you used.
School AI or whatever.
And I'm like, my students know too, right? Like students aren't dumb. They know when they're looking at something that like this is formatted like it came out of an AI. At least make it look like you wrote it.
I think just on the topic of using AI generation, which I looked it up, it's different from procedural generation in that procedural generation creates content that is within the bounds of the code that the programmer put in. So they have more control and it's more limited, versus AI, which is based on these huge data sets that can really go off the rails sometimes.
AKA,
as we know.
AI just makes shit up and then tries to get close to whatever you're asking.
Yeah.
Like,
also, AI is a black box. Like that's what people call it, a black box. Like no one, like even AI professionals or whatever, they don't actually know how you get from point A to point B. Like they do not know the exact processes that the AI goes through to
That's scary.
get an answer, which is why they can't make it fact check itself at some point or like do the things that you would think you can make it do. It's because it's a black box. And so
what does that mean, a black box?
Like they don't know how it works.
So do you want like the Alan Turing explanation or
No, I just have never heard that term before.
the way to think about it is imagine it like you're in a math class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of giving you like the y equals 1/2 x plus 5, I just drew a black box around it and shaded it in. So you just take one, like you take a number, you throw it in the left side of the box, and it spits out a different number on the right side of the box. Like, you know something is happening inside the box because your left number doesn't match your right number. But like, you don't know the exact like formula. And you could like work backwards if you like throw enough numbers in there. But the problem is like once your formula is not just like 1/2 x plus 5, and is instead like a literal like million variable equation, there's no easy way to like put something in the front and predict what's going to come out the back.
Makes sense. Thank you. That was a good explanation.
Wow, it's almost like it's my job.
Today I learned. Thank you.
So I would say I would say, yeah, procedural generation, I think, is very far away from AI. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I think there has been, in the video game media that I interface with anyways, a lot of conversation about how AI should be used in video games. And so I think, I do not consider procedural generation, generative AI the same thing at all. I think they're very like procedural generation is normally very elegant, and like let's take Minecraft for example. Like Minecraft will have environments that kind of make sense. Like it's not truly just random. Like you will have a bamboo forest, and then you will have snow on top of the mountains, and you will have water in places that make sense for water to be. Like there is, I think, a lot of artistry in the creation of those equations to make them create things that will make sense. So like,
that's a good point.
So that's another reason why I hesitate to use the term random, because I think it's random what the seed is, but then that is going to create something that has been at some point relatively well balanced. Like
there's human curation in there.
Yeah. So like in Hades, for example, if it was really random, sometimes you could just get 7 shop rooms in a row. Because if it was truly random, that would happen. But I don't think, that's not allowed to happen though. No one's going to get that because it's been balanced out shop, rest, and like combat points. And so normally when you play around a Hades, it feels like a pretty good balance. But if it was really random, it wouldn't feel balanced, some of the time. It would, you would have only combat.
Janky.
Yeah. And so I think even with procedural generation, they're still making the equations to give you a balanced experience. Like, okay, we have a shop room, and now we're going to take away another shop room as an option for the next room to be. Or like, it's only going to be like, we're dropping the percentages of what the next room can be. Or like, I don't know how the math works, but it is, there is some sense of this is the experience that we want people to have. Like if Slay the Spire if the maps were really random, every once in a while, just through random chance, you would get a map that's like 75% bosses, or like the hard, I don't know what they're called. What are they called?
But there's elites.
Elites. Yeah. You would get but no, like the ratio of elites to shops to regular enemies are always pretty well balanced. And if it was really just random, it wouldn't be that way. Anyways.
That's really interesting. I thank you for saying that, because for me, like, my brain does not recognize patterns. Like when Seth told me that the first boss of Slay the Spire was always like this, or this, I was like, what?
Katie,
are
that's the
you
point of the game.
kidding me? I don't recognize. This is why I teach English and not math, because I can predict the ending of a story, like, maybe a quarter of the way in or something, like, oh yeah, this is the so-and-so and this is that and this is the blah and this is where it's going to go. Like I can do that. But to play 150 or 200 or 300 hours of Slay the Spire, where it is so random to my brain that I can't believe that there is any rhyme or reason. And then to find out that, yeah, it's always this, or this. Like, what? So to hear it explained that way, I'm like, okay, actually then, because I was kind of thinking like games that are more curated where it's the same every time, I was like, well, there's a lot more care and effort put into that. And so I was sort of thinking like, oh, that's like kind of better. In like story games that are like, I was like, that's sort of better. But when you've explained it that way, then I'm sort of just kind of realizing that the curation is probably the same on both sides. It just looks different in the end product.
Yeah, and I think it's two different types of experiences. So like Slay the Spire, you are meant to develop a competency with the system. In God of War, you are meant to love your son. And those are two different goals.
Totally.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it's interesting because like the combat in God of War is interesting, and they added a roguelite mode in God of War. And I did learn more about the combat through that roguelite mode than I did playing the game, because it randomized what upgrades you got, and then it randomized what enemies you fought. So instead of just being like, this is my system of attacking, it made me diversify and learn a lot more about the combat system. And so like in God of War, like that really hit me of like, okay, this combat system is actually a lot deeper and more flexible than I gave it credit for when I first played it. And so for me, that's the beauty of the roguelite mode, is that it did build my competency. Am I interested in building my competency? But for people who are interested in becoming good at it, I think that's a lot more rewarding than the story beats, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense to me. You want to master your emotions, not your skills. Okay, just stare at me blankly. Thanks for that. Whatever. Okay, yes. Any final thoughts, Seth?
I still want to argue at some point about like different tiers of procedural generation.
Okay,
but,
I should have done more research.
No,
maybe,
I think there's a legitimate, I think, argument to be made about like what do the different levels of this contribute to like the game design and like the way that the user is experiencing it. Like we've mentioned all these different titles, but like the procedural generation in Minecraft serves a very different, I think, design importance than the procedural generation in Balatro, than does the procedural generation in Hades. Like they're all sort of procedurally generating something, but like in a different like extreme. It contributes to like the gameplay in a different way. Like because I think the level of human curation is different. Like Minecraft to me feels like a very, like we've set the parameters, and sort of like the conversation about God that Dempsey mentioned earlier. Like we've set the parameters and we've just kind of like let it go, and like it generated us for a world, and like we tweaked those until eventually it produces us the like outcome that we desire on like a regular basis. And that's cool. And like I enjoy, it's probably one of my favorite things about Minecraft is that the world is like can be very, very different. Whereas in like Slay the Spire or Hades, it's really down to like, okay, what's the sort of path I'm going to take? But then they can like hide little things, like to Dempsey's point of like, oh, there's like not back-to-back shops. Or the other thing I was going to mention for Slay the Spire, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but the first 3 fights of every act are easier fights than all the other fights.
Nope, didn't notice at all.
It's to help you route 3 fights before your first elite fight, so that you can sort of build up some resources into your first elite fight without losing too much health. Like,
that, sorry.
And I was going to say, there's hidden sort of design in there versus like something like Balatro, where I think like a lot of the extra elements have been stripped away to say like, okay, here's like a very much more curated selection of like things I've designed, but in a just a little bit more of a random way to sort of feed the experience. But the fact of Balatro, like, you fight a small blind, you fight a big blind, you fight a boss on to the next go around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no pathing. It's just like, what cards are you finding? And you're opening up in card packs.
Yeah, I think it's like I would say it's like what emotional experience you want people to have. Because in Minecraft, the emotion you want people to have is the sense of wonder and exploration. Or at least, like, I know Minecraft, a lot of people build things, but that's not where I get my joy of Minecraft. My joy of Minecraft is feeling like I'm exploring an untamed landscape and, the danger that comes with the natural element. And so because I can't play Minecraft enough to get used to that, it always feels wild to some extent. And so in my opinion, that's the emotional. Whereas Balatro, I think the emotion that game wants to make you feel like is a mathematician. Like, it kind of wants to make you feel like a math genius. And so like changing the pathing or whatever, I don't really think would help make you feel smarter. Whereas like Slay the Spire, it's meant to feel a little bit like a dungeon crawler, and you're supposed to feel like you're having this like pseudo D&D adventure, slaying these goblins and things like that. And so the pathing like does make it feel a little bit more Indiana Jones and adventure-y, where I don't think Balatro would benefit from that. I think Balatro, you want to feel like you're in the movie 21 where you're counting cards, and it's optimized for that specific emotion.
And the pathing in Balatro is the card packs that you pick and the ways that you choose to influence the game with, like, I forget what those ones are called that, like, permanently increase your hand by 3, or like
the tarot cards and the...
No, the one on the left-hand side that you can do that, like, changes the rules of the game. I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't played enough Balatro recently. I feel like an idiot, too.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know where
though.
to press it on the screen, though. I can press it.
Yeah, on the left-hand side, they're $10 always.
Yeah.
They're like,
I know how much it costs.
Show up twice as often. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, not the antes. Jeez. The vouchers.
Yes, the vouchers. Yeah.
There we go.
Exactly. The vouchers change the rules of the game.
People are screaming at their iPods. They listen to us on their iPods.
Their iPods?
Yeah, it's 2006.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is definitely a topic that we would be able to revisit, I think.
Yeah, because JRPGs, I think, have a lot of procedural generation. Like, Pokemon had like your random encounters, that's what they're called. Final Fantasy has random encounters.
Like No Man's Sky is famous for it. There's a lot of different games of different genres beyond roguelikes that utilize procedural generation.
I forgot the topic. I thought we were talking about roguelikes.
It's all just D&D.
Halfway through.
It's all good.
It's all just D&D.
Well, I like to think that, like, some nerd back in the 70s was like, oh, like, if I could just write down 6 different rooms, and then when my players open up the next door, I'll just roll to see what room they go into. And then that, like, fundamentally changed game design for the next, like, 50 years.
It's probably true. You're probably not wrong.
No, I'm not. That's like what happened.
Is it? Oh God, that's funny. Wow. Okay. Do we have any honorable mentions this week?
Yes. It's an honorable mention that I can't stop thinking about from last week, but Katie was not here for the conversation. So there is a Burbank video about the history of the Game Awards. And it's made me want to do like a masculinity topic. Because like up until like 2014, the Game Awards were the worst things ever that I've ever seen in my life. And I wasn't keeping up with gaming as a culture at that point. I did not start keeping up with gaming as a culture until like maybe 2018. And so by then, the Game Awards were like actually about the developers. There was an orchestra there playing the score. People got to give speeches and things like that. But like back in like 2004, 2005, it would just be like strippers throwing champagne on the people who won. And then like a comedian would like have a whole stand-up set about how much he hates his wife. And like that was gaming culture. And like it made me so nauseous to watch in a way that I didn't know I was capable of feeling. And so it like you can watch these clips anywhere. There's a video that came out I think last year by Eddie Burbank where they kind of go through the history of the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley is apparently like the reason, part of like, it's a huge culture shift obviously, but he has been pushing for them to be better since he was involved. Like since he was involved, he has been like pushing them to be less misogynistic and more about like the artists and professionals that, and so it's very interesting to see his involvement impact gaming culture and stuff like that. But anyway, so that's something that I have been thinking a lot about. And then because you're not going to hear that, you're not going to hear that episode for like a month that we recorded last week. So anyways, but yeah, I think Katie, you find that really interesting.
That is interesting because I was a teenager getting into video games a lot in 2004, 2005. And I remember watching, there used to be a lot of video game
that
shows.
Doesn't math out. That's
You were a teenager in 2004?
No way.
Yeah, I was born in 92. I was 14 in 2004. Or 12 in 2004, 14 in 2006.
Okay.
Damn, you're old.
Damn.
Fuck you. Okay, so I remember though that they used to have these like gaming coverage TV shows on Spike TV, and Spike TV was like the man channel. And I remember when they brought a girl, her name was Morgan, onto, I forget what the TV show's name was called, but it was like Adam was the guy and it was just his show for ages. And they brought Morgan on and Morgan was like a cool girl. And I remember even at the time being like, this is not better. Like, they brought her on because she's hot. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely improved over the years. So I can't wait to listen to that episode. Seth, do you have any honorable mentions?
Katie, I'm trying to figure out, were you just admitting to being misogynistic, or I'm trying to figure...
No, the way that it was like... No,
Katie's
they
like,
finally
I do not want to see women doing my gaming coverage.
It was like, there was one show, they finally brought one woman on, but she didn't get to actually say anything smart about games or have any
she was just there as like eye candy?
She was... Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like this woman came on the show and you were like, this damn woman doesn't know what she's talking about.
No, it was like she wasn't being allowed to be a serious person on the
that makes
show.
more sense.
It was like, yeah, it's bad.
I was a little confused where you were going with that bit. But
Katie was like 27 in 2004. She had nuanced opinions.
Oh my God. No, I was 12. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't come at me if you're like, I remember that show and you're wrong. She wasn't that way at all. Maybe she wasn't. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I'm old. God.
She's practically withering away.
I'm withering.
And then, wait, hold on. I want one more honorable mention. Also, I've been reading The Case for Mars. I know it's Seth's turn. I've been reading The Case for Mars, which is a great book if you're enthusiastic about space exploration. It's by Robert Zubrick or whatever his name is. Anyways, it's a really, I've been reading I think it's very generous to what I've been doing. I've been audiobooking.
Audiobooking counts.
But The Case for Mars by Robert Zubrin. It will make you feel smart. It's a very niche. It's kind of this guy ranting about how much he doesn't trust NASA to get us to Mars.
Oh, that's interesting.
Cool.
It actually is. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. He's qualified. Like he worked for NASA and like he's somewhat qualified to talk about the stuff. I don't know. Maybe I've brought into his personal propaganda. Who knows? It's an interesting read.
Fun fact about audiobooks versus reading. If you want to improve your vocabulary, you should physically read books because seeing the words helps you. Or even better, listening to it and seeing it at the same time because then you know how to say it. But if you just want to engage your brain in the act of understanding stories and processing stories and that sort of thing, listening and reading activate the same part of the brain. So there is actually no difference to your brain between reading and listening.
Okay.
Okay.
Seth, it's your turn.
Thanks. No, anyway. I don't know if I have much to mention. I think I mentioned last week I started playing some Magic the Gathering with Rachel, which she seems to be enjoying.
Cool.
I'm now 0-5, I think, versus her, which is pretty bad.
She's winning?
Yeah, she's 5-0 against me. She's won 5
Nice.
of our games.
Good woman.
There's mechanical game reasons why that's been happening. She doesn't particularly care for my excuses, but I have legitimate ones.
I'm sure.
Let's see what else. Oh, speaking about audiobooks, so I share an Audible account with my mother, who was like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop like paying for the monthly like Audible credit. Like, there's like 2 or 3 credits left over." She's like, "I don't want anything. If you want anything, pick some stuff up with them." So I picked up a couple like Warhammer audiobooks. I got this really great like little anthology series of like one of my favorite characters. They're just like 1 hour little like novellas or vignettes. Just with like him, effectively what would be, I guess, like a long chapter in a story. They've just turned them into like separate stories. I have just been listening to them when I play games, which is not something I usually do. Specifically, like if I'm doing something boring in RuneScape, an hour is like how long I typically parcel out my time anyway. So like a little like 1 hour novella that matches up with like my 1 hour I was planning on playing the game anyway, because RuneScape was full of just boring, repetitive tasks, has been wonderfully fantastic. I only used to listen to audiobooks in the car because I was like, oh, I'm traveling somewhere, I'll listen to something. But like actually doing it while I play games has been very nice.
That's awesome.
If I have to focus, it doesn't work. But if it's like, hey,
Background.
yeah, you're gonna fishing might be the most boring thing in RuneScape imaginable. So it's like, hey, you're gonna have to be fishing for the next 4 or 5 hours. Why don't you listen to a book while you do it instead of just like browsing YouTube and trying to find something that you're not going to enjoy watching?
Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to do a topic on why we love boring games so much, because Dempsey's playing Power Wash Simulator, you're playing RuneScape, and I'm playing The Long Dark. What is wrong with us?
There's nothing else good to play.
Yeah, no good games at all. Okay.
Alternatively, bigger number, better person. But that's maybe for next week.
We're really just here for the dopamine, let's be real. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Overthinking Games, a podcast about what video games can teach us. As we said at the top of the show, you can find us at all the usual places and send us an email, which is in the show notes if you made it this far and have something to say. And we would love to hear from you. We will catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.